And now one last question for you, Pearl. At what point does history play a part today? Give me a time frame that we can start referencing, since nothing matters to you.
Okay. That was a lot.
You gonna answer that question?
That was a lot of points.
You gonna answer that question?
All of them. But if you didn't give me the attitude, but you can keep doing it.
Give me the attitude.
Pearl.
See, they do so many different points. It's very tough to address sometimes.
Just answer that question. You ain't gotta answer everything. Just answer the last question. What period of history should we start taking into account to evaluate the current time?
I think as an adult, you're responsible for your actions. None.
You didn't just answer. I agree with you, but can you answer? I'm just asking you a question because I'm just sweet, respectfully. I agree with you. That's a great point. I just want to know so I can know how to deal with you. At what point in history can we start? Can we use to refer to our current paradigm? Do we stop at the 50s? Like what time frame is relevant? Is relevant to you that we can use to apply to our modern day situation?
It's not relevant.
How much of today's behavior comes from history, like slavery and Jim Crow?
Yeah, so I would say not too much, but it depends on the person. So if you think about what depression is dwelling on the past. And if you're dwelling on the past too much, you can find yourself in a state of rumination. And if you're in that state of rumination, it's very hard for you to overcome and move forward and to grow when you find yourself in that state of rumination. I think that currently a lot of Black people, when they say things like, oh, well, systematic oppression, we were oppressed in the past. Those Black people are weak-minded, feminine Black people, and they're relying that all of their thought process is focusing on the past. So they're actually in a state of rumination, just like how a depressed person would be in a state of rumination. It's very similar. I think that mental state, Black people need to overcome that. It's pitiful. It's the saddest thing that I see from my Black people. And I'll be honest, I used to be in that state of the victim mindset and thinking about the past, but that's something that we all have to overcome.
Well, I know history, right? But we don't know exactly when. Just like these incomplete numbers that I have been hearing that are directed toward my people. Those numbers are a direct result of history and the state of the Black community right now, because if you take away someone's ability to be self-sustaining, then they are going to commit a crime. And a lot of the crimes that we commit are proximity crimes. So this fake narrative that is being painted that we are out here trying to get these napkin colored people, we are not. We largely commit those crimes in our own community, just like they commit like horrible atrocities in their own community as napkin colored people. So history plays a large part, the economy plays a large part, and racism plays a large part in what happens in our community. When you put people in a desolate situation, when you put them in the projects, that creates hostility, that creates desperation, that creates people who are going to get it however they can. And so that's what I mean by internalized oppression. You are believing, you drank the Kool-Aid and you hate your own people for reacting to a system that they were put in, and the system that still is going, that still is functioning. When I tell you that thing get an oil change every 3 months, it's going. It ain't stopped going. They keep that thing maintained, oiled up, and ready to go. So to say that history plays no part, and just because we have melanin in our skin, that makes us some beautiful ass people, moisturized too, and unwrinkled 45. We we have to pay the price for something that someone else created, and then we have to get someone up here that is that is spewing skewed numbers, incomplete, not skewed, incomplete numbers at us.
I think Jim Crow and slavery is like the low-hanging fruit. I heard Cooley say, you know, people looking to the past is weak. I think looking to the past, it can be weak, but everybody in the world does it.
So we're going to just talk about, because you just said slavery, I'm going to just say the 20th century, right? So in the 20th century, we have redlining. I was in the military, so we can talk about the GI Bill exclusion, discriminatory lending practices, hiring, discrimination prevented Black families from acquiring assets at the same rate as white people. So that means today, the typical white family has 6 to 8 times the wealth of the typical Black family. This gap is directly connected to policies that blocked assets accumulation from the 1860s all the way to 1975. Okay, if you want to talk about neighborhoods, housing, and segregation, racial zoning began in 1910 to 1930. We weren't even able to be in suburbs to 1960. Okay, so most American metropolitan segregation today still matches those redliners as well as the schools. The schools still remain segregated. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. So modern segregation is not accidental. It was purposely done, and it's just a racist policy. If we want to go into the criminal justice system, from 1970 to 1990, because we're talking about the 20th century, the war on drugs, mandatory minimums, crack versus cocaine, powder versus rock. Y'all know what I'm talking about. This targeted all Black communities. Policing has been historically been concentrated in low income, because you like to talk about our neighborhoods, segregated neighborhoods, which created policies, not behavior. So they just, all of that. Criminal justice disparities from a mix of historical racial control systems and ongoing policy decisions that still affect us today. So over policing, under investments go hand in hand. Black Americans are more likely to be arrested and receive harsher sentences than white people. Should I continue? Is my time up? Pearl, you can go ahead.
Well, she broke it down, so I don't really have to expound upon slavery and Jim Crow, because I think, like Pearl like to use words like obvious. I think it's obvious, what I'm saying, what happened to Black people. But when I deal with history, the reason I look at history is not to play victim, but to show you a pattern of behavior. See, a lot of white people are talking about post-affliction behaviors that our people show, post-crack, post-redlining, post-civil rights movement, post-slavery, post all this interference from you. Of course, you want to see a lot of dysfunction, but they never want to deal with who we were before that, because if they would do that, you would see probably the most exceptionally behaved people, like, have you ever seen? Like, you like to talk about decorum. Well, like I said earlier, we were murdered when we were behaving at our best. So it was our issues with Europeans were never based on behavior. Because if that's the case, then how do you explain the past? But when you look at history, you see a pathology and a pattern of behavior by people, whether it be European, whether it be Black, whatever, African, Moorish, whatever word you want to use. So when you look at the history of our people, we were always benevolent. I wouldn't say it was perfect, but we was always open. Anybody that's getting murdered openly, who's still opening their house to white folks, even the shooter that happened in South Carolina a couple years ago, the man went into a church full of older people, and he was a young white boy. He murdered everybody. So let's stop talking as if Black issues are strictly based on their behavior. Most of the biggest atrocity that happened to Black people from white people were from people who were unbeknownst to it even happening, let alone behave in a certain way. So when you talk, because I'm talking to you, Pearl, it's like, what stats can we bring up? Because if we bring up stats to defend our argument, they don't count. Only your stats matter. Only your information matter. That energy, that pathology alone shows you the elitist mindset that there's nothing we can do to change it, because there's nothing we can do to change your mind. No information matters. But at the end of the day, since y'all been on the planet, and I got some cool, good white people, but at the end of the day, since y'all been on the planet, it's a bloody trail of violence. And then now that we're at this point, you're seeing the side effects of dealing with you guys for so long. You have the audacity to be surprised when we do each other dirty. We're not even doing nothing to white folks. All the things that we're doing is to each other. We internalizing this problem. We're not scandalizing your stuff. We're killing each other. We're beating each other up. We're disrespecting each other. We're talking to each other. But let me finish. You're gonna get your chance to reply. But at the end of the day, everything that we're involved in that's negative, there's a white dollar, a white CEO, a white hand in it. Now, if you're just absolving yourself from all our issues, then you have the right to say, hey, but everything that's negative about us, there's a paper trail that goes to a funding or an okay by somebody that looks like you. And now one last question for you, Pearl. At what point does history play a part today? Give me a time frame that we can start referencing, since nothing matters to you.
Okay. That was a lot.
You gonna answer that question?
That was a lot of points.
You gonna answer that question?
All of them.
All right, so we're gonna let Pearl.
I would love it if you
hold on.
didn't give me the attitude, but you can keep doing it.
Give me the attitude. Okay.
Pearl. I'm gonna give you 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond, and we're gonna go ahead and get to Amir. All right.
Okay. So see, they do so many different points. It's very tough to address sometimes. Okay, so the original question was about slavery, right? It was about what does the past affect the now.
Well, I was gonna let you respond to him. Otherwise, I gotta go to.
Just answer that question. You ain't gotta answer everything. Just answer the last question. What period of history should we start taking into account to evaluate the current time?
I think as an adult, you're responsible for your actions. None.
You didn't just answer. I agree with you, but can you answer? I'm just asking you a question because I just sweet respectfully. I agree with you. That's a great point. I just want to know so I can know how to deal with you. At what point in history can we start? Can we use to refer to our current paradigm? Do we stop at the 50s? Like what time frame is relevant? Is relevant to you that we can use to apply to our modern day situation?
It's not relevant. As an adult, you're responsible for your.
So history is not relevant to nothing today.
That question requires research.
As an adult, you're responsible for your choices.
You can't answer the question. Got it. Cool.
I gave you an answer.
No, you didn't. It's cool.